Good morning, folks. Welcome back from North Georgia. Chris in Atlanta for the wrap-up of my trip down here. It seems that South Africa's farmers, some of them are very forgiving. Perhaps it's the desperation of the foot and mouth disease, a mess that's been exacerbated by the incompetence of the Department of Agriculture and the arrogance, apparently. Well, the latest faux pas comes once again from John Steenhusien's chief of staff. Of course, remember, he famously fired Roman Kabinak illegally, tried to push him out over actions that Kabinak never took. He never committed any offenses, never broke any rules, never broke any laws, and he was removed. And subsequently, Yana LaRue became the chief of staff for John Steenhusien. Over a week ago, she was caught being condescending, insulting, disrespectful, and callous towards South Africa's farmers, many of whom are suffering immensely, some of whom purportedly have taken their own lives, although I can't confirm any of those cases. That's just what people are saying. But whatever the case is, she was dismissive and callous and sent an email saying it was amusing what was sent to her to the senior-most people in the Department of Agriculture. She did that, and that email got out. Rather than fire her, John Steenhuisen, in his typical buffoonery, said, "I'm aware that someone has been..." Anyway, rather than say what he should have said, that this is inappropriate conduct, we will investigate it, and appropriate action will be taken, he dismissed it out of hand, essentially, by saying, well, we know it happened. We're looking into it. It was callous and indifferent on his part as well. Hence the scandal about John Steenhuisen, the latest scandal with John Steenhuisen. He fired Roman Kabinak for doing nothing. This woman, in the midst of the deepest crisis in living memory for South Africa's farmers, doesn't give a flip about them. Well, she was able to apologize last week, and apparently that apology was accepted by those who were insulted and offended by the email. Well, those directly. The rest of us, the apology isn't floating. We didn't get the apology. But here's the thing. What kind of person is this? Well, now a new revelation about her conduct at NAMPO, at a braai organized by Chris Burgess during NAMPO in May of this year. Apparently, she talked to Henny Botha, the CEO of the Free State Agriculture Organization. And for some reason during the conversation, it must have gotten heated, she said that she would F them up, meaning the agriculture organization. Why? This is an attorney, someone with an advanced degree, that's supposed to be mature and well-behaved. And this is how she addresses the farming community working in the Department of Agriculture. You have to question her conduct, her character, and certainly the judgment of John Steenhuisen. This latest brouhaha is not really making many waves. Now, why is that? What is going on? And why is it John Steenhuisen can't seem to pick reliable people to be his chief of staff? Okay, fair enough. Only 2 mistakes. But you have to wonder what's going on there. So why is it that Biltong Barbie, Yana LaRue, is able to get away with this nonsense? Why do people tolerate her conduct? Is no one asking for her head? What's going on? Is she so proficient and effective in the rest of her work? Is John Steenhuisen always where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be, and all of his communications coordinated well? Well, maybe it is. Maybe she's the best chief of staff since sliced bread. I don't know. I don't know who she is. But Biltong Barbie's continued conduct that's insulting and condescending and threatening towards farmers is a red flag, to say the very least. And in fact, this is 2 red cards, which should lead to a ban. That seems an apropos comparison in the midst of the FIFA World Cup here in Atlanta. But why is it, I ask again, that Biltong Barbie has not been fired, has not been sanctioned, has not been suspended, has not lost pay? I mean, these aren't simple transgressions. These are people's lives in jeopardy. These are people whose very existence, their businesses, jeopardized by the inaction of the Ministry or Department of Agriculture in South Africa. Why in the world is there no uproar about Biltong Barbie? Now, you may find this harsh, but I don't. We've seen the behavior of the Democratic Alliance and its senior members in the past when it comes to shielding people they like and jettisoning people who've done nothing egregious that are convenient to get rid of. So what is it that Biltong Barbie has that makes her so special? She must be quite the amazing chief of staff, and I'll allow for that. But these continued, and this is just 2 incidents that occurred in the past month. How long has she been behaving like this? It reminds me of Palo Palo. How many sofas have been stuffed with cash at Palo Palo or at Latuli House? We don't know. How many times has Biltong Barbie been disrespectful and rude to the agricultural community? And how is this culture of arrogance allowed in that department? It speaks volumes to the leadership of the Department of Agriculture in South Africa that the chief of staff for the minister thinks she has the right and the privilege to behave so condescending, disrespectful towards the agricultural community, the very community she's supposed to serve. You see, that's the problem with bureaucrats, especially, but also politicians. They think that we're here to serve them when they've misread the room. They serve us. If they don't serve us, then it's time for them to go. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi. Cheers.